Alrighty, let's go, ladies and gentlemen. The Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty Show back at you, second time in a week, boys. What an absolute treat! We got James, we got Ali. We're going to put our money where our mouth is. We've been chatting about these rookies for a little while. We're going to do a little mock draft action. James, you feeling bullish? You think you're going to take the crown in this one?
Yeah, this is actually the first mock draft I've done for this class, and it's also the first mock draft I've ever done on a podcast. So yeah, hopefully it goes well.
Not my first mock draft, as I'm sure people watching the Dynasty are well aware. Been doing them since October, but we'll see how it goes. Ali, what do you think? How's this going to go down? I think we're just all going to smash it, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just be happy to get through the show without losing power again in my house. So definitely going to win it. And yeah, not my first one, but we are deep into rookie season, so this is the perfect time to jump on and get our first one done together.
Yeah, if Ali does disappear, he's not rage quitting us because we sniped his players. He's genuinely the British government have cut his power. So we'll see how this goes. James, you're going to kick us off with the 1-1. Then Ali's going to go next. Then I'm going to take the third pick. James, we are super flex. Does that change anything for you? Where are you going 1-1?
No, it doesn't change anything. I'm still going Ashton Janty 101. I think the main thing for me is you're not going to get a chance to take him anywhere else. You're picking 102. It's unlikely you're going to get that chance. It obviously depends how many leagues you're in, things like that. But I think I'm in a league with you guys where I've got the 101. Just a spoiler, that's who I'll be taking. It's just, unless something ridiculous happens in the draft, he's likely going to be a top 10 pick, isn't he? And I think we might not necessarily agree that it's the best way for NFL teams to build their teams. It's definitely great for fantasy. If you look at the running backs that have been drafted that high up in the last few years, have certainly been sort of top 3-4 dynasty running backs straight away. So yeah, I'm not thinking about it too much. Ashton Janty 101.
No arguments from me at all. Ali, did you think he was going to do anything else? So you must have thought that was coming.
What an idiot. No, it's the obvious pick. It is the consensus. Even with Superflex, it's still the pick for me. I think the upside is far outweighs the upside of the top quarterback in this class. He's looked like he's going to get top 10 draft capital, whether it be to the Raiders or the Bears. Love both those landing spots. And I think he's going to smash it from game one. He's been an absolute beast in college for Boise State. Even when the defenders have nothing else to worry about, he's still scoring so many touchdowns and just being insane. So he's one of the best prospects, really, since obviously Bijan Robinson has come out recently. But he's up there with that caliber of prospect.
Yeah, same for me. I mean, there's not much else to say about Ashton Janty that hasn't been said, to be honest. So I think we'll just mosey on down the road, Ali. We'll go to you at pick 2. Obviously, you didn't think Janty was going to be there. So who's the guy? You weren't sniped. Who's it going to be?
Yes, I was planning on Janty being off the board. That's for sure. So this is a toss-up. My 102 is Amarian Hampton, so I will pick Amarian Hampton here. I've got an interesting scenario and one that you'll like me bringing up, Mags, because it is in a league where you won, and that beautiful trophy that is behind you, it is that league, the Hatchet Man. I actually have the 101 and the 102 in that league, and I am a team that obviously I was terrible last year, so I have the dilemma of, do I try and trade out of that pick? Do I pick Ashton Janty and Amarian Hampton? Would it make much sense for a team that's rebuilding to have 2 running backs? Definitely got to think about that, and may try and trade out of that. But for this scenario, in terms of value, I think Amarian Hampton, he just fits the bill for me as someone that I think a lot of people will be talking about more if it wasn't for Ashton Janty. I think it's been absolutely incredible for UNC. I saw a fun stat today that he's the second best running back in the last 10 years in yards per contact when being hit behind the line of scrimmage. So it just shows that, no matter how good or bad the offensive line at UNC was, he was able to churn up the yardage and get positive yards from those plays. And just watching him, he's such a violent runner, perfect downhill sort of guy, perfect size and build. The RAS score 9.93, almost perfect. I don't think you're not going to get the level of PPR that you get with Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, but it's very, very close. And I think he's immediately going to be a top 5, top 6, at worst top 7 dynasty running back when he comes into the NFL, because I think he's going to get round 1 draft capital. I've seen him mock to the Cowboys, the Bears. There's quite a few landing spots in round 1 that would really suit Hampton. So for me, it is Hampton.
No arguments for me, James. You like Omari Hampton as well, I assume?
Yeah, definitely no arguments over the player. It absolutely can be a workhorse in the NFL, can't he? And those are hard to come by these days. It's just coming back to that point that Ali made. If you're picking in the top 2, it is difficult to go sort of running back there when you know that you're probably one of the worst teams in the league, and it's not necessarily the best way to turn your roster around. But there's not really much else you can do when this is the draft class we've got, and these are, I think pretty clearly the top 2 players in it.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's good. It's going to be interesting to see. Maybe Ali will just trade me those 2 picks for a nice discount. We'll wait around and see. It's back on to me now. I'm at pick 1-3. Torn between a few players here. There's a couple of people I could go with. I'm going to go Ted McMillan. I think he's maybe a victim a little bit here of prospect fatigue, where people are kind of, I've seen him sliding down boards a little bit. But if I'm sitting at 3 and Ted's there, I'm very happy to take. If I was in your position, Ali, he is a tempting player to go for as well, because obviously that wide receiver is someone more akin to a rebuilding squad to take. And Ted's got all the tools available to be a truly elite wide receiver. He's a freakish athlete. I'm really looking forward to seeing where he ends up. I think he can play on the outside very, very comfortably. I think he's got actually the skills to be used sneakily sometimes as like a big sort of power slot. That could be a hell of a lot of fun for Ted McMillan as well. He's a guy that can play anywhere, and he's got the tools to kind of beat anybody. I think he could be a real star in the NFL. Not a truly, truly elite wide receiver like we've seen the past few years, but still a very, very good one. So I'm feeling pretty good about getting Ted McMillan. Was that on any of your radars? Obviously, James, you weren't going to take him at 1. Was he someone you were thinking about coming up next at 4?
Yeah, I expected to be able to take him. To be honest, I thought you would have gone somewhere else, but we'll talk about that when it's my next pick. He does everything. Look, he's not got the elite speed. He's not. I said he's not like the elite wide receiver 1 in the draft class that we've seen in the last few years. And there's certainly different parts of his game that aren't at that level. But he's definitely the top receiver in this class. He reminds me of what we saw from Marvin Harrison actually as a rookie. Definitely not what we expected to see, but you saw that sort of, it's just not that quite as explosive as we wanted from Marvin Harrison. But you definitely saw him outperform the cornerbacks in certain plays and things like that, and the body control and things like that. So I definitely would be taking him if he was available. My next pick.
Ali, did it even cross your mind to pick 2? Yeah, as you mentioned, Mags, in that scenario where I am rebuilding and, it's not advisable to take 2 running backs. I've got a tier of 4. Well, I've got a tier of 1, which is Janty, but then the next 3 guys I've got as a tier, which include Ted McMillan. So, any one of those could have been picked. And as you mentioned, he's not quite elite like we've seen with Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. as a prospect, but he has that typical size. He's fast enough. I did really like Matt Harmon's reception perception came out yesterday for Ted McMillan, and it was interesting. His route running was against pressed coverage. His success rate was 73.1% against press coverage, which was really, really good and encouraging. That was 80th percentile. To me, I think is a lock to go to the Panthers at 8. I can't see them passing on him because I think it'd be perfect for that offense, and he would immediately be a red zone weapon for him. So yeah, it's top 3 is fine. He's definitely my wide receiver 1.
Yeah, absolutely. James, easy pick for you at 4 coming up. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's got to be an easy pick now. We're at 104. We're in a Superflex league. This guy's going to go 101 in the real draft. You can't really let him go any further. So yeah, Cam Ward off the board. Obviously we've got question marks over all the quarterbacks in this class. Cam Ward's the number 1. Doesn't mean there aren't lots of question marks about him, but I was watching your hot seat show with Dave Kluge the other day, Mags.
Oh yeah,
and it was interesting all the stats that he reeled out about the quarterbacks drafted first overall. That I think one of them was over 80% of them start 80 games in the NFL. If it's not for the team that drafted them, it's going to be for someone else. They just get that longer leash. So yeah, he's going to get the time to figure it out. So yeah, maybe we're not sort of totally enamored with him right now, but he's going to get a few years. And yeah, at 104, I think it's kind of a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, I really like that pick of Cam Ward. Ali, I can see you nodding as well. Solid pick, right?
Yeah, I do like Cam Ward. Easily the quarterback 1 of this class. Separated himself big time from Shedeur Sanders, and even Jackson Dart could be the quarterback 2 nowadays. I'd really like the poise that he shows, Cam Ward. There's nothing really seems to phase him, which I think is crucial when he comes in to the NFL. I think he's not going to be phased. I think he's going to be not rushed. Yes, he tries to play the hero too often, and that isn't going to work in the NFL, especially year 1. But I look at 2 rookies that came in this year, Jaden Daniels, and compared him to Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams looked so rushed behind that offensive line of the Bears, whereas Jaden Daniels just looked so poised, wasn't rushed, looked like a veteran there, and I can easily see Cam Ward coming in and showing really good poise and just being effective from year 1. So if it was me, I'd have picked Cam Ward as well.
I want to see a repeat of, I think it was like maybe the second last week, where Cam Ward's offensive line was doing a great job, but he dropped back in the shotgun and stood still for what seemed like a minute, and then just like eventually just flicked the ball off. But he had his feet firmly together. That was fantastic. I want to see that again from Cam Ward. He's James's second pick. Ali, where are you going for your second pick?
I'm going to stay on the running back theme, and I'm going to go for Trevion Henderson as my running back 3. This is a guy that is has been well known for a few years now, obviously at Ohio State, which helps as well. And we thought he was going to come out, was it last year? But didn't. He's explosive. This is a guy that I like because he doesn't require like 20 touches a game to be really fantasy relevant. I think he's very similar in that respect to like a Devon Achane from this year, the last couple of years, where he can only have 12, 15 touches and be really, really effective, put up games of 100, 150 yards, and be effective in the pass game as well. He's natural receiver of the ball. And you see his cuts and his acceleration when he hits that hole. He's a home run, running back. He's gonna run off these 50, 60 yard plays. I think he's easy up there as my running back 3. And if I can get him in the mid first rounds, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, he was. I secretly thought he might, if I was playing my cards right, he might come back to me. That was kind of the tiebreaker between him and Ted McMillan for me. I thought there's no way Ted's coming back, but there was a small chance that Henderson might, but sadly didn't come back to me. I love Trevion Henderson. I would have taken him at 3 happily as well. James, are you a fan of Trevion as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's an argument that he's very close to being the running back 2 in the class, and I think there's been a bit of a shift in the NFL in the last year or so with teams looking for more out of the running game. Teams are shutting down the pass a lot more often and looking for that explosive play from the running back position. And that kind of thing means he's probably going to get that early day 2 draft capital, if not the end of the first round. And if you can get past sort of some of the health concerns and things like that, I think he's definitely a guy that mid of the first round I'm more than happy to take.
Yeah, definitely. And that wheels right back round to me. And again, I've got a couple of players here that I could go with. I mean, a couple of names out there. Do I go with, my wide receiver 2, Kyle Williams, for example? Or do I go somewhere elsewhere? I think I will go a pluck from my wide receiver 2. It is not Kyle Williams. It is between two guys, but I'm going to go with a slightly higher upside with this pick. I'm going to go with Luther Burden. I think if this guy hits, then we're looking at an absolute smash on our hands. Very iffy year last year at Mizzou, but I think the whole thing was a bit off. I think Burden should still be a day one wide receiver, should be picked fairly early on in the NFL draft and go to a team that will hopefully use him well, because when used properly, he is a real electric playmaker. I'm really happy getting him at the 106. If you're a team in the middle of the pack, maybe just making the playoffs, if Luther Burden hits, that's exactly the kind of player that you want to improve your teams. Is he your wide receiver 2 as well, boys? That is the question. Maybe you don't want to give too much away. Maybe just a yes/no answer for this one. James, is he your wide receiver 2?
Yeah, I was hoping I'd be able to take him.
Ali?
Yeah, he is my wide receiver 2.
He's your wide receiver. Good, excellent. Get the sniping ready. That's great to hear. Superb. James, well, let's pass it back to you then at pick 7. Who are you going to go with?
So I'm hoping this is the guy that you were torn between with your 2 wide receivers you mentioned. I'm going to go with Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah, it was.
Like you said there, you went with the one that had the most upside in Luther Burden, and that's, I definitely see that. Egbuka is difficult, isn't he? It's another one where sort of as the years have gone on, it's just, I don't know, maybe it's dwindled a little bit, the sort of excitement for him, I think. But from watching him, he's just about as reliable as they come in this class in terms of wide receivers. You can rely on him to run the right route, to get open on time. When you throw him the ball, he's going to catch it. He's just not as exciting as the likes of Burden when, is he going to score every time he touches the ball? And like you said, with Burden there, if you're taking him, he can really push your roster up a level from, on the verge of the playoffs to really be in a contender. If he hits, I'm not sure you're going to get that out of Egbuka, but he should be fairly reliable sort of wide receiver 2 or 3 for your team. So maybe that's just as good, really, that sort of reliability and consistency.
Yeah, Ali, sneak preview of Dynasty Hot Seat episode, not yet out. I'm going to ask you a question, Ali, so the Fantasy Wildcard listeners will get to hear the answer to this before even the Hot Seat listeners do. I asked absolute hero Marvin Eloquin, does Emeka Egbuka have the highest floor of any receiver in this class?
Yep, he does. I was about to say that. I mean, when you compare these 2 wide receivers, I'd say if Travis Hunter came out full-time wide receiver, he probably has the highest floor, but that's not going to be the case. So Egbuka has a much higher floor than Luther Burden, but Luther Burden has the ceiling. So it's just preferential who you pick between the 2. I can see both of these hitting and being productive right from the game 1, being wide receiver 2s for their team. I just hope that in your real rookie drafts, we don't see the likes of Egbuka falling towards the back end of round 1, because I can just see it in a year's time, 18 months' time, going, why on earth did we let that guy fall to someone that's been productive right throughout college when he's had all the superstars around him, yet he's still produced as well. But he's just not got the limelight on him. So, really like Egbuka. Yeah,
we can give him a little bit of shine here for sure. He deserves it. And Ali, you've got the unenviable task of picking right after Egbuka. I'm sure you would have loved to have had him, but you're going to have to settle for whoever you're taking at pick 8 instead. Who you got?
I'm going to just stick with the running backs. It seems like I love running backs. I'm going to pick Egbuka's teammate at Ohio State. I've already got Trevion Henderson, so I might as well pick Quinshon Judkins as well. This just guarantees me the thunder and lightning. think Judkins was the Thunder to Henderson's Lightning. Although looking at the combine, he was the second in class for athleticism score. Had a really, really good combine. Again, he brings you prototypical size, elite contact balance. He is violent runner as well. Really reminds me of Dalvin Cook. Obviously, Dalvin Cook was a really, really fancy, relevant running back with his aggressive run style. Was able to catch the ball. We've not seen it as much with Judkins. He's tend to be the sort of the first and second down back, the hammer. But he's just going to come in and be productive. I think he's going to get day 2 draft capital, probably round 2. I really like him going to perhaps the Broncos, and they got pick 52, something like that. That would be a really nice landing spot under Sean Payton. Yeah, give me Judkins, an easy day 2 pick that's going to be uber productive at sort of the mid to back end of round 1.
No surprise from me here. I had 8 players written out in not exactly this order, but there were these 8. I think this is bordering now on becoming consensus top 8. James, are you the same here? Do you think these are the 8 players that most people are happy to take in these positions?
Yeah, exactly that. I think they've gone off. I think maybe we've gone one player in an order that I didn't expect, but yeah, all the rest of the 8 are there. And then yeah, like you said, it's maybe a little bit of a, I don't know if we can call it a teardrop, but certainly becomes murkier, doesn't it, in terms of who's going to come up next. I'm really interested to see where you go, because it's going to obviously influence my pick.
Yeah, it could be one of genuinely, I'm looking down my list, 7 people here. Like genuinely, it could be one of 6 or 7. So I'm going to go with someone who, again, I think is maybe a slight victim of prospect fatigue here, but is still a really, really good player. I think he's the last of the potentially elite running backs, and that's Caleb Johnson. I think he's absolutely shone all year in college, showed everyone what a dangerous weapon that he is. He didn't blow up the combine, but I think he's been a victim of double counting, where people never thought he was too rapid, and then he wasn't too rapid in the combine, and everyone went, what the hell is this? It's like, you never thought he was that anyway. Like, so yeah, I think he's a victim of people looking for something that was never there to start with. So I'm happy getting a guy that could potentially take on a workhorse role in the NFL. I think Judkins is probably the last guy that could potentially do that. But, Johnson, if injuries go his way, could end up in a position that I think he's going to be able to carry a team if called upon. But at the very worst, I think he's going to get himself a nice committee role for sure. Ali, do you think that Johnson has been, victim of that classic combine double counting?
Yeah, I think there's not much you can pick a hole in the top 4 running backs. I've still got Johnson in a similar tier. I call him my power 5. I think people are going, he's just a product of that Iowa offensive line being really, really good and opening holes for him. But when you look at the stats, he still had 1,060 yards after contact in 2024, total of 1,725 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 0 fumbles. Now, if you're getting that at the back end of round 1, then that's great.
Yeah, I love it. James, what do you think about KJ?
Yeah, you guys have sort of ticked all the boxes there. I think he's definitely a victim of it's the speed, isn't it? That's the thing. Everyone likes to see the flashy speed and everything like that. I think, and that's probably the reason why. That's the reason why he is a sort of late first round pick in certainly our rookie drafts, and that's why he's not been spoken about as one of those top 3 or 4 in the real NFL draft. And he doesn't necessarily show the sort of upside that we've seen from the guys that have gone above him, but that doesn't mean he's not going to be a productive NFL back. And like you said, it won't take much for him to be given that sort of opportunity. And I'm sure that if he gets it, he's not going to sort of relinquish that.
Yeah, I think you're right there, James, and you're back on the clock, mate. So where are you going to go with pick number 10?
I don't really like this. Like you said, there's so many to pick from. But I'm going to go for a quarterback, seeing as we're in the Superflex, and I'm going to go Shedeur Sanders.
I knew you were going to say Sanders as soon as you said I don't really like this.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say Shooter Sanders.
We obviously spoke about him a couple of weeks ago after the combine and things like that, but since then I think there's just too many teams picking at the top of the draft that need a quarterback, and it's just so hard to see that he's not going to be taken by one of those teams. It doesn't mean that we're overly excited to start him in our dynasty lineups, but we've seen last year with the likes of Bo Nix and Michael Penix, their quarterbacks are, in our eyes, were probably overdrafted, drafted too highly by the NFL teams. And Nix was a late first rookie pick. Penix was probably a second in a lot of drafts. I think I got him sort of 203, 204 sometimes. So they're definitely worth that now. They've paid off, right? They've exceeded that, and I think it's just hard to pass on a quarterback that we know or we're certainly thinking is going to be drafted that highly. Certainly holes in his game, and I think Ali mentioned he might not even be the quarterback too, but I'm working on the assumption right now that he will be. And I think at pick 10, I think it's worth the risk.
Yeah, I think perhaps, Ali, I don't know if you're the same as me. If once the NFL draft happens and if Sanders does secure that, top 5 draft capital, then for me, he won't be there at 10. I'll be taking him a little bit earlier. But Ali, do you think we've maybe been swayed a bit by some rumors thinking he might start to slide a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I just think people like to root against him, root against his dad. Obviously very vocal about his son and where he wants him to play. I just don't think that the New York Giants can pass on him. I think Cam Ward is a lock now to go 101. And I can't see how the Giants are going to pass up on him and say, no, we're good. We've got Jameis Winston. When Brian Daboll's job is on the line, the GM job is on the line. Are they really going to go down with Jameis Winston as their last hope? I just think that
W's.
if they get him at number 3, people are going to see that connection with Malik Neighbors and obviously fall in love with it. So I think you're going to have to get him at the back end of round 1 at the very, very latest.
Yeah, if he goes to the Giants, that link up with Malik Neighbors, I've been excited about that for a while. I would love to see that. He'll be moving up my board to around the 7-8 mark instead of where he is now for sure. So, Ali, you're at pick 11. Don't snipe me.
Oh man, I'm literally between 4 players. I've got a wide receiver, a quarterback, a tight end, and a wide receiver that we don't even know if he's a wide receiver. So you probably know who that is.
I wonder who that is.
But on the basis that this is my final pick in round 1, I'm not going to let this guy slip out of round 1. So Matthew Golden is my pick, and not going to be choosing a running back because I've got 3 already. Matthew Golden has been my guy from the start. I just love. I don't know whether it's just the Texas jerseys that I absolutely love. There's just something about him. He's so smooth. Obviously came into the combine and smashed it with the fastest 40 time, which we weren't really expecting. We thought that was going to be his teammate, but that was a big fail. He can win all over the field, all levels of the field. Obviously the college playoffs really helped his draft stock, and a lot of people are saying, well, he only really done it towards the back end of the season. Why was that? There is question marks on it, but I look at it that was against top level opposition. You don't want him to dominate, Boston, some sort of weird lowly ranked team. You want him to beat up on the teams in the playoffs that are there on merit. So with that, with the thought that he's going to get solid round 1 draft capital right now, and I would absolutely love him to stay in state and go to the Cowboys middle of round 1. I think that'd be perfect to be the wide receiver 2 with CeeDee Lamb. I'm all about picking Golden at the back end of round 1.
Did you stop yourself from saying some little team like Boston College because you didn't want to annoy Zay Flowers, or what was that?
Yeah, I just stopped myself there. I couldn't think of anyone smaller Let's not say Flowers.
Yeah. I knew you were going to go with Matthew Golden. That's your guy. I think of all the players we've spoken about so far, Golden seems to be the apple of your eye for sure. James, did you see this coming? I didn't see 3 months ago Matthew Golden being in the first round, but here we are, and I can't really argue against it.
Yeah, I think he's certainly a riser, and there's a bit of a concern that that sort of hype would push him too far up the drafts, and certainly rookie drafts, and I would be hesitant to take him above any of those other receivers. So I think this is the perfect spot, and obviously we knew Ali was going to take him anyway in the first round, but I think this is the perfect time to take him. There are sort of risks in the profile, and I wouldn't want to take him any earlier than this. But yeah, like as Ali said, he sort of turned it on in the playoffs, and it's hard really to look past that. I think against that sort of elite opposition. More than happy at the end of the first to take a swing on Golden.
Yeah, definitely. He fits right in there, and that's back to me for the last pick in the first round. I'm going to go ahead and take someone who I think should be in everybody's first round at the minute. That's Jackson Dart, the quarterback at Ole Miss. Yeah. He is rising up boards. He's got, talk about upside. He's got more upside than Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. If this guy puts it all together, he's a better athlete than them. His deep ball, his intermediate ball is also really quite solid. There's question marks about the scheme that they run over at Ole Miss, and who knows what that's going to translate like to the NFL. We've seen some quarterbacks, post Manning struggle coming out of there, but I think Jackson Dart's got at least the athletic attributes to come in and succeed. I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up going top 10 as well. I know there's rumors about him going in the second round. If Bo Nix was able to go second or top 10, Michael Penix as well, I don't see why Jackson Dart isn't also able to go high up in the NFL draft. Now, if he does end up falling into round 2, that's probably going to change. But for now, I just have a sneaking suspicion that he is also going to join those names we mentioned earlier as a first round quarterback. Boys, what do you think about Jackson Dart? James, I'll pitch it to you first.
Yeah, it's just all about that draft capital, isn't it? That's the thing. It's kind of the same conversation I had with Shedeur Sanders. And obviously, like you said, Dart's certainly got the higher upside. So if they both get, I don't think Dart, well, it seems unlikely that Dart's going to be as high as pick 3 or pick 2, whatever it is that the Giants end up selecting from. But if he does get slightly later, that top 10, top 12 sort of pick, I can't really argue with it based on what I said about Sanders, that, you should be taking him in the first round because you don't get that value very often. You might not be looking for him to be a starter in the NFL team. You might be waiting a year before you're starting him in your dynasty lineups and things like that, but that's still great value. Like, would you trade a random 26th first for a starting quarterback? You probably would. So if you treat it like that and think that in a year's time he's starting for your dynasty lineups, it's probably going to be worth it. So I can't argue with it based on the expectation that he's going to get that first round capital.
Yep. Ali, you a fan of Jackson?
Yeah, not the biggest fan, but I understand that he's a toolsy quarterback. He's got the size, he's got the arm strength, he's got the scrambling ability. I think it was Mel Kiper. He's one of his latest mock draft. He had him at pick 9 to the Saints, which I really like. There's 3 land spots I really like in round 1, which would be the Saints to sit behind Derek Carr for a year. Would be Pittsburgh with the mess they've got at quarterback there. And it would be the Rams to sit behind Matthew Stafford, whether it be a year, whether it be 2 years even. If he could then take over from him in that Sean McVay offense, that would be really exciting. So, I really like the fact that we've picked Jackson Dart round 1, because I think when it comes to the real life rookie drafts, you're going to have to take him back end of round 1.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. So he's locked in. Let's move into round 2, shall we, boys? James, we're right back to you, I believe. Who are you following up? You had 1-1, now you got 2-1. Who's it going to be?
So I'm going to pick the guy that could be the 101 if we knew what position he was actually going to play. I think it's sort of tidy, quite nice and tidy there. So yeah, Travis Hunter. I think for the first round, it's risky. So now that we're in the second, I'm way more happy to sort of take that risk. Obviously, we kind of hope that he gets drafted by the Patriots. Was it pick 4? And they kind of decide, yeah, he's a full-time wide receiver. Why would he not be? And then he's going to play the odd snap at cornerback. If you think you're picking 201, you're probably picking 101. Probably means you had the worst team in the league last year. Taking a risk like this can transform that roster around. If he ends up becoming a full-time wide receiver in the NFL, it is a big if. But we're in the second round of rookie drafts, and quite often we are just burning these picks. So why not burn them on someone with this upside? Yeah, it's obviously going to be really interesting to see, and who knows when we're going to actually find out when we can ever put him in our lineups. But I think in the second round, why not take the risk?
I think I've got an answer to the when can we put him in the lineups, when we're going to find out. I think the answer is never, not really, because I think the more I'm thinking about it, I actually think he's going to be a two-way player. I think he's going to be limited on snaps on both, and I don't know what that means for his dynasty value. It's complete mystery. Ali, I don't know what to do with him. I have no clue. Do you any light to shed on Travis Hunter?
Yeah, I just think that he's going to be drafted in the top probably 4 or 5 picks to be a two-way player. I think if he was a full-time wide receiver, you'd likely see him pick 10 to whatever. But I think he will be picked high because of the fact that he can play cornerback as well. But I think ultimately, when you look at how much money wide receivers have earned themselves this offseason, the likes of Jamar Chase, how much that he's earning, I think he's going to want to be a wide receiver. So ultimately, I think he plays more snaps at wide receiver. And therefore, I think come real life rookie drafts, I think you might have to take him, and you'll probably see him going far more often in round 1 than in round 2.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens. I wonder if Roger Goodell actually ends up saying defensive back and wide receiver. I think he might say both, which would be first time in a long time. I don't even know what they've done for other two-way players in previous drafts. I need to go back and check. But yeah, I've certainly not heard that one in a long time anyway. So he's locked in for you, James. Ali, your first pick of the second round, who are you going with?
So I'm going to go as the 2 players I would have picked gone off the board now. I'm going to go tight end and Tyler Warren as my tight end 1. I think he's okay if people want to take him in round 1. I think he's that good a prospect. I think he's going to come in and be someone's tight end 1 straight away. I think he's going to be productive for fantasy. So, I think that's absolutely fine taking him there, but I feel far more comfortable taking him in round 2. I just think he's so versatile. He can, take snaps out of the backfield. He can be that typical tight end. He's just a mismatch, 6'5", 256 pounds, much quicker than he should be for his size. He's like that Swiss Army knife. He can do it all. He forced 30 missed tackles in 2024 as a guy, a 6'5", 256 pounds. And the one thing that I like, because the people say always only had the 1 year of production, and why was that at his age as well? Obviously, he's a lot older than some of the prospects he's going up against, but I really like the fact that his drop rate went from like 15% in 2023, which is really too high, down to 2.8%. So he was catching everything, just been such a weapon for Penn State. And one reason why they were successful in the playoffs. So Tyler Warren, 202, really happy with that.
James, is he just a rookie Taysom Hill in the most fun way?
Well, I don't know about that, but yeah, he's certainly a good pick here. I'll be more than happy to take him in the second round. I think, yeah, there's obviously the concerns on the age and things like that, but he's going to be on the field a lot. He's really athletic, and combine those two things, and there's a chance that he becomes like a top 3 dynasty tight end. And you don't get sort of the opportunity to take that in the second round that often. So yeah, if he's available for me in the second round like this, obviously assuming it's tight end premium, or definitely if it's tight end premium, I'm more than happy to take that gamble. I would be taking him as the first tight end off the board. So yeah, Taysom Hill, I don't know, is he one of those that I think you're certainly going to be more happier putting him in your starting lineups than you would be Taysom Hill, but yeah.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun, and I'm actually going to go on the board right away and take the other guy. I'm going to take Colson Loveland right after Tyler Warren. They're pretty inseparable for the minute. I kind of flip flop between Loveland. I think for me is still slightly ahead of Warren, just because I think he has traditionally the skills that'll translate to the NFL a bit easier. Warren's a bit more of a, some of these gadgetier type players struggle sometimes to carve out a role, whereas Loveland just makes sense. Loveland to the Chargers, how many times he's seen that, almost inked into everybody's mock draft. I think if he does end up going there, that's a lock for a top 10 finish at tight end in his rookie season. And then going on from there, we need some more of these young tight ends to bloom and develop. I see Loveland as a prime candidate to come in and be someone that you can start quite happily for years and years to come. How close is it for you two between Loveland and Tyler Warren? Ali, were you thinking about Loveland at all there instead of Warren?
Yeah, very close. Like you say, they're inseparable, to be honest. Completely different types of tight end. I think you need the right scheme for Tyler Warren to flourish and reach his ceiling, whereas Colson Loveland is just, you build a perfect tight end that's pretty athletic for the size, can do all the blocking, can get open. His route running at that size is incredible. So, pretty much inseparable. I'm in a situation where I want to take shares of both of these tight ends. As I'm not saying I've got Tyler Warren ahead of him, so I'll always take him ahead of Loveland. I'll probably flip-flop them, especially if they both get round one draft capital. Yeah, they're really close.
Yeah. James?
Yeah, I kind of agree. Look, they're all in that tier. There's obviously not just tight ends in the tier, but there's, like we mentioned, there's 5 or 6 players that are kind of all very similar, and you want a piece of them all. Really, you don't want to sort of hang your hat on one of them. More than happy to for a tight end that's going to get day one draft capital. More than happy to take him sort of early second round. He has the tools to be a day one contributor, like you guys have said. So if that's the case, and we're going to be putting him in our starting lineups week one, which is pretty rare for a rookie tight end. At this stage, more than happy to take him.
Love it. So James, we're going back to you, and just looking at the board, James, just looking at my list in front of me, I feel like we're about to have the great Iowa State debate coming up any second now. I'm not sure if it's going to be right away or soon. James, what are you thinking for your next pick?
I wasn't going to go there yet, but I'm really tempted to take the other one and to see what Ali does. Let's just. I'll go for my guy. Let's just go Jalen Noel. Why not?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a chance one of you guys will take him, and I won't be able to next time. And I feel like I can't leave this room without taking him. We literally spoke about him yesterday. This might be a bit early to take him, depending on the draft capital that he ends up getting in the NFL. But I kind of say you're playing fantasy to have fun. Draft the guys you want. It's definitely in the second round. What's the point of waiting to see if he's there when you next pick? Obviously, depends how many picks you've got in a rookie draft, and obviously in this exercise, why would I wait and pick someone else who I'm not 100% sure on when my guy's there? I think in the NFL he needs to be a complementary piece in an offense. He's not going to be the offense isn't going to be built around him, but that doesn't mean he's not going to be the most productive player in the offense. I think I've kind of covered it before. I think you just get him the ball and see what happens. Certainly the most exciting player in his wide receiver room in college anyway.
Ali, your response?
Hey, this is the wide receiver 4 on Chris Sims' board. So who am I to argue against Chris Sims? Because if I do, he'll only talk about me again. So let's not go there. Good pick, James. Good pick.
Yeah, let's not forget that Chris Sims predicted the wide receiver 4 was actually going to be the wide receiver 2. Let's not forget that guy's prowess. And also predicted Roman Wilson, wide receiver 5, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give a round of applause to that guy. He definitely knows what he's doing for sure. So, Hallie, you're back on the board now. Are you gonna double up the Iowa State guys?
I'm actually not. I'm going to stay true to my board because my wide receiver 5 is still on the board, and it's.
I was going to trick you both to stealing Trey Harris.
It's Trey Harris. This is Chris Sims' wide receiver 5 from this year. Yeah. This guy, he's just been so productive. I think he's the forgotten guy just because of the injury, how his season finished, but. In just 8 games, he had over 1,000 yards, which was absolutely insane. 60 receptions, 7 touchdowns, averaging 128.8 yards per game. So not bad. 5.12 yards per route run, which is insane. Probably never going to be done before. And I think he's going to get early day 2 draft capital. Someone that is explosive, will be a quarterback's best friend. Yeah, I really like Trey Harris. So middle of round 2 feels really good.
Yeah, I was looking forward to taking Trey Harris. James, was he the guy you were like, he's not on my list, I should really take him, but I'm going to take my guy instead?
Yeah, exactly. You tricked me into taking Jalen Noel ahead of him. But I definitely would have taken him. Mid-second round pick. It's great for Trey Harris. I think we're waiting on the draft capital, as we keep saying with a lot of these players. And we might be sort of waiting a little while until sort of maybe the end of his first season before we're kind of confident in starting Trey Harris, but that's fine for someone we're taking at this stage in the rookie draft. So yeah, more than happy to take him here, and I would have done had you not tried to trick us both.
I was hoping for the grand slam to get both of you, get both the Iowa State guys, and then swoop in and steal Trey Harris, but I can't. So I'm going to have to settle for. I can't not make a statement here, boys. We're in the middle of the second round. It's time to just put a smile on your face and hit the big my guy button. Give me the absolute living legend, RJ Harvey here in the second round, in the middle of it. The upside of this guy, I absolutely love. Pass catching for days, really strong, really solid through the tackles. Cannot wait to see what team he ends up on. Every single team in the NFL could use themselves an RJ Harvey. I think I'm definitely higher than consensus here. He's going ahead of other really solid running backs that are still on the board, still available. I just like RJ Harvey more. So I'm going to stick to my gut. I'm not going to try and risk it and think, is he going to come back to me? Because I know one of you two know I want RJ Harvey. You would have stolen him from me. So I'm going ahead and take him here and lock him in. Boys, I know you probably don't like him as much as I do, but you got to love RJ Harvey. Surely, James, come on.
Yeah, definitely not as much as you, but yeah, he's just fun to watch, isn't he? That's the thing. First thing I wrote down when I started watching him was, fun. Similar to my kind of thing with Jalen Noel, where I just enjoy watching him play. So, yeah, get your guy in the middle of the second round. Why not? I think he's probably going to mainly be a receiver to begin with in the sort of NFL pass catching role, but you never know. He's got that chance, hasn't he, to sort of capitalize on an injury. So yeah, in the second round, why not?
Ali, did you catch that edit that was made of him running the 40 time and they cut him into?
Oh, that was so sweet, wasn't it?
So nice, wasn't it?
That was so satisfying. I watched it about 10 times, I reckon. And I tweeted about him today. There was that exercise going around about who's the running back 1, who's going to have the most touchdowns, most yards, a sleeper pick, and then it was my guys, and I picked RJ Harvey as one of my guys. I really do like him. Absolutely smashed the combine, and as you mentioned, the PPR upside for days I think is going to be really useful. We just want him to land in a role where he gets the opportunity right away, and hopefully he does, because if he does, he's certainly got the upside. And if you're picking him, say, late round 2, I think that's really good value.
Absolutely love it. So he's locked in. I can do that with a big smile on my face. James, it's back to you. Are you going to wipe the smile off Ali's face with your pick here? Because you know he got a chance to.
No, I'm leaving that scrub on the board. In all seriousness, that should be the pick. We know it should be, but it would be funny to just leave him a little bit longer. So let's just not pick him just yet. So when we're looking back at the screenshot of the draft board, we see him a few spots further down, away from Jalen Knoll. I'm actually going to go with one of Ali's other guys, Dylan Sampson. I think.
Nice.
I think I'm just looking for sort of upside now. I haven't really taken any running backs. I think since Justin Janty, I don't think I've taken any. So yeah, if we're sort of doing an exercise, this is my team. Sort of the second half of the second round, upside running backs. I think we spoke about him in the show yesterday. That nose for the end zone. Was it 20 plus 22 touchdowns or something like that? Which combine that with his sort of athleticism, his speed, the upside is there. If he gets sort of decent draft capital, decent landing spot, and there's a path to him having a significant role, then that's the kind of pick I want in the second round. I'm assuming he might not have been there when I next pick, maybe, Ali?
Correct. Yeah. It was obviously a toss-up, and if we're going to move on to my next pick, I may as well get him off the board because, as you mentioned, I can't bear to see him drop any later than this because I will be taking Jaden Higgins at the start of round 2 without any hesitation, to be honest. The wide receiver 1 from Iowa State, the big guy. He's got the size, got the athleticism, 94th percentile athletic score. The route running, I mentioned how smooth his hands were in our previous show. He could catch a baby, no problem. Just productive. Bit over 2,000 yards the last 2 years. I'm really liking what I'm seeing in terms of mock drafts because we're seeing him at the early round 2. I think if he was to land perhaps to be the Giants wide receiver 2, I've seen mock to the Browns at the first pick in round 2. I think those would be decent landing spots as well. Really like Jaden Higgins. Probably maybe not got the ultimate upside that Jalen Knoll does in terms of he's got that elite trait of the speed. But I think he can contribute as a wide receiver 2 right away.
There we have it. The debate will rage on, I'm sure, as we get into that. Whoever gets the higher draft capital, that's gonna be real fun. Boys, I've got 4 names left on my board here, and I don't know about you, but I essentially have 4 running backs. One's a running back that gets us through the ball every now and again. But I'm unsure which one I'm going to go for. I'm going to go ahead, take a little bit of a risk here. Player that's talked about a little bit less often, but I think if everything clicks and everything hits, he's probably the best out of all these running backs left. I'm going to go Ollie Gordon. Like, Ollie Gordon was a lock as a first round pick this time last year. If you asked anybody, he led college football in yards, even when Ashton Jeanty was playing that year as well. Let's not forget, Ollie Gordon had a better season than him. It just didn't work this year for whatever reason. Far be it for me to say, but he looked a little bit out of shape. He didn't look quite like he was at the races, but then he turned up for the combine, and I was like, okay, he's looking like he's back in shape. He's looking ready to go. I think Ollie Gordon can definitely carve himself out a role for an NFL team. And if he hits anything like the form he was in 2023, we've got a star on our hands. And I think it's definitely worth the gamble in that late second round. But we've seen the story before where players hit and then they fall off. And it's sometimes really, really difficult to come all the way back. Ali, what do you think about Ollie Gordon? And I think it's worth the risk, right?
Yeah, he obviously has the pedigree. The 2023 season was incredible. A fun fact, I play in one Devy league, which I absolutely love, and I have Ollie Gordon and Ashton Jeanty coming in as the 2025 running backs. And I was far more excited heading into the season about Ollie Gordon than I was about Ashton Jeanty. And now look at the value compared to the two is incredible. Yeah, 2024 was a bit of a disaster. he's a bit of a weird running back because he's quite big. He's got a bit of a weird running style. 2023 was beautiful. The offensive line just was destroyed in 2024. He was getting hit behind the line far too often, but wasn't able to sort of power through it. But I do think that he still gets an opportunity and is probably drafted higher than we anticipate in the NFL draft. So if he gets a role where he can come in and contribute, then I'll definitely be all over Ollie Gordon.
James, you managed to see much Ollie Gordon this year?
I haven't seen much. I think he seems to me, there's sort of those 3 or 4 running backs, like you just said, where pick your poison. Which one do you think is going to land on the best team, which in the best spot? And obviously, if he's got that sort of upside season where you've seen it in the past, he does. Yeah, it seems to me a fine pick that he's of those 3 or 4 that, if you want to gamble on him being the one that actually ends up being the best in the NFL, that seems sensible to me.
Love it. And speaking of fine picks, James, you've made multiple fine picks, but you have got one more left to go. Which way are you going to go for us?
Yeah, it's difficult still, isn't it? There's a few of those other running backs, like you say. There's a couple of wide receivers. Kind of, I guess it's a my guy I'm going to go for. If we spoke about him after the combine, Bashal Tutin.
Nice.
Maybe I don't need to take him in the second round. Maybe I can wait into the third. I think that combine and sort of that's going to push him up draft board. So maybe this is the time I do have to take him. I think there's definitely some issues there. I think he might have had like 9 fumbles in 2 seasons, something like that. If he can sort of get that out of his game, he's got the physical traits to sort of be a productive fantasy player. Back end of the second round, I think it's worth a risk. There's certainly some other players that I think could end up outproducing him, but just taking a shot on one.
I'll take a swing of lightning in a bottle back in the second any time, right, Ali?
Yeah, I think this guy's going to get drafted a lot higher than we thought, and especially higher than we thought maybe a few weeks ago, where some people didn't even know who this running back was until he smashed the combine. He's got a trait that a lot of these other running backs in this area don't have, and that's elite speed. So NFL, they covet speed. So why not take a swing at him here?
Does that mean you're going Jalen Milroe with your last pick, Ali? NFL, they covet speed.
Mags, you absolutely read my mind. Basically, I'm a toss-up between a Stanford wide receiver that absolutely mossed Travis Hunter in 2023. I've got a Utah State wide receiver that I really, really like as well in Jalen Royals. I've also got a running back that I'm thinking about that everybody loves and wants to do well. We all know who that is from Arizona State. But as we are the wild card, I was going to go for the wild card pick, and it will be Jalen Milroe, back of round 2. I have absolutely no idea where this guy's going to get drafted, what team he's going to get drafted to. But everyone knows that he has this elite rushing ability. If he, if he finds a spot in the NFL where he can start, obviously he's not going to start right away. He's going to have to sit for a year under a veteran. That's going to be the best thing for him. He is like a highlight reel waiting to happen. Outside the pocket, he's incredible. Inside the pocket, he's pretty clueless. He's clearly got the arm for it. He makes some great throws down the field, but his touch and accuracy is almost as bad as probably what mine would be. So there's a lot to work on, but there's a lot of tools there. Jalen Hurts wasn't the best prospect when he came out. He had a lot of tools. I'm not saying he's going to be Jalen Hurts. He's not going to be Jalen Hurts, but the NFL were able to work on him and turn him into a Super Bowl winning quarterback. So I think Jalen Milroe has a chance to come in and at least have a shot at starting somewhere. And I think it's probably worth it. Back end of round 2 is probably the earliest that I'll think about it. You can maybe get him in round 3. I think his range of outcomes is just huge. But he's the wildcard pick here.
Man, he's so much fun. He is just so much fun. And I mean, I've sort of let myself get swayed by the, pardon the pun, the tide against Jaden Milroe here. But there was a couple of week stretch where, you know, he was consistently throwing for 300 plus yards in the like 80% sort of completion rate, which was just fine. And then also like rushing for over 100 yards every single game. And I was like, he's got to be the quarterback one. He can't not be the quarterback. How can you do this and not be considered the quarterback one? And then, you know, things started to take a little bit of a dip. Things started to happen where, I mean, we've seen his completion rate as far down as in the 40s. It was in the 60s quite a lot, in the 50s quite a lot. But goddamn, when he is on, he is nigh unstoppable. So I love taking a punt on him here. I think I'm going to come away with a lot of Milroe shares on teams where I'm rebuilding, and I just want to take a big swing because he's someone that can really fast track a rebuild. He's a hell of a lot of fun to watch. I mean, I thought Jaden Daniels was electric. Milroe is honestly more fun to watch than even Jaden Daniels was last year. Just the running part of it, anyway. I mean, James, did you get a chance to see? You must have seen a couple of highlight reels of Jalen Milroe. The guy's a freak, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think he's one of those. Yeah, in this stage of the draft, he's absolutely worth the fly. Like you've kind of touched on. What did he have? 20 rushing touchdowns in 2024, something like that. It's just ridiculous. Like if he's starting quarterback in the NFL, you want him in your fantasy lineups. That's just a fact. It's just we don't really want to take him any higher in drafts because we don't know how long he's going to be a starting quarterback or if he ever will be. But yeah, he wouldn't even be in this conversation this late on if we knew that he was going to be starting quarterback for multiple years. I think it's the draft capital again. If he's a day 3 pick, I'm probably letting someone else take the risk. But
yeah,
it really depends on the situation and what the route is for him to becoming that starter, and how far down the line you have to project to see that. But yeah, he's absolutely worth the upside. End of the second round. Yeah, there's no upside as high as this.
Cleveland Browns probably take him at 2 overall. No one, the Cleveland Browns and what that establishment has been able to do. That leaves me with one more pick. I would have happily taken Milroe, Ali, but I think you made the right choice. I'm torn between 2 people here, 2 running backs. I like taking running backs towards the back end of the second and basically the whole way through the third. I'm torn between Devin Neal right here at the top. I'm actually going to go with another guy. I'm going to go Cam Scatterbo, who, I mean, someone check that guy's birth certificate. I'm not sure if he really is 22 years old. He certainly looks and plays a lot older, but we've seen what he did throughout the college playoffs. He looked an absolute stud, a real star. He's not going to take a backfield all to himself, but he could come in and be a nice complimentary guy. Don't love it. Don't hate it. Back end of the second, that's kind of how I feel with most picks. I can squint my eyes and say there's a chance for Scatterbo to be fantasy relevant, which is, to be honest, all you can really hope for at the back end of the second. Is that kind of what you think with these back end of the second players as well, boys? James?
Yeah, exactly. It's more likely than not just going to be a short yardage back or a very limited role. But if there's a chance, he's been productive in college, it's worth a risk. I would potentially take him a little bit higher than this, but not really much later, much earlier, than the 2.9, 2.10. So yeah, that's really not that far away actually from where you picked him, is it?
Yeah.
But yeah, more than happy. Look, 24th pick in the draft. Why not take a gamble on running back?
Yeah, Ali.
Yeah, he's 210 on my board, so I'm definitely happy to get him around the spot. I think there'll be people that take him, towards 2.3, 2.4 because people love him. I think NFL teams will love him. He's really good to root for. So productive this year in college, and yeah, he's a dog. People like these sort of players on their dynasty team. So yeah, really do like Cam Scatterbo.
Absolutely fantastic, gents. That was an absolute pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching at home, please leave a little comment over on our YouTube channel. Who do you think had the best draft and why do you think it was? it was me. Just leave a comment and say what particular pick it was that you thought I overtook the pack. And boys, that does sadly bring us to the end of the show as I completely mess up our layout. I don't know what I'm doing here. This is a hell of a lot of fun though, isn't it? Look at that. There we go. That's much better, isn't it? Boys, that was an absolute pleasure. I had an absolute ton of fun on our bonus episode, second of the week. James, do you enjoy the show?
Yeah, definitely. Great to kind of finally go through a mock draft on these rookies. Get to see what you guys are thinking about them all. And obviously the highlight of Jayden Noel going, was it 3 or 4 picks ahead of Higgins?
Of course, yeah. Ali, apart from that Higgins burn, you had a good time.
Yeah, I had to give you that one, James, because obviously we will see Jayden Higgins get drafted a lot earlier and be better for fantasy. But yeah, I think we might have one more rookie mock coming up before the NFL draft. We've definitely got one shortly after, possibly with a special guest. So that will be exciting. We love the rookie mocks, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. There was some awesome picks. There was only 2 players that I had on my list that we didn't pick today. So I think we've all done really, really well.
God, who are they? Go on, Ali. Come on. You can't leave us at a cliffhanger. Come on. Let the people know.
Jalen Royals. Absolutely love Jalen Royals. And Alec Ayamana.
Crushed it. Very good pronunciation there. That's not an easy one. I of course just accidentally left Kyle Williams off mine. We'll have to go back and redo the whole thing. So, boys, this is an absolute pleasure. Thank you for watching at home, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, when you have the wild card, you've got the power to change the game. See you soon. Bye-bye.